So my manager talks to 90% of my clients. We make that introduction to them. But when it comes right down to the nitty gritty, it's me.
Yeah.
It's taking the fall. It's me that's taking the hit if something goes wrong.
Sure.
It's like that, and people don't understand how difficult it is to actually run a business today.
Wayne Carini became a household name through his television show, Chasing Classic Cars, known for his expertise, precision, and passion for vintage automobiles, giving fans a glimpse into the rare world of high-end automotive restoration. But what happens when a spotless reputation is suddenly dragged into controversy? What happens when a man whose business depends on his integrity finds himself at the center of a legal battle that no one saw coming? At the heart of this case was a single, stunning 1934 Pierce-Arrow Coupe, a car so rare and valuable that it became the subject of a decade-long dispute. A car that not only changed hands multiple times, but also ended up pulling Wayne Carini into a lawsuit. So what's the deal that sparked this whole controversy? In 2010, Robert Richmond, an Australian antique car collector, visited the United States and came across the 1934 Pierce-Arrow Coupe. Instantly captivated by its timeless beauty, Richmond knew he had to own it. Since he couldn't personally handle the transaction, he asked his longtime business acquaintance, Gary Dixon, an American car restorer, to make the purchase on his behalf. The plan was straightforward. Gary would inspect the vehicle, purchase it, restore it, and then ship it to Australia. Richmond, eager to secure the car, made an upfront payment of $98,000, confident that the car would be under his name within a few weeks. But what started as a simple deal quickly turned into an absolute nightmare. Weeks passed, then months, then years. But the car that Richmond had paid for never showed up. But if you're assuming it to be a fraudulent case, the actual layers go way deeper. And what happened next was even more alarming. By 2016, the situation between Richmond and Gary Dixon had completely fallen apart. Richmond was frustrated beyond belief, and Gary, who'd never delivered the car, suddenly filed for bankruptcy. This left Richmond with nothing, no car, no refund, and seemingly no way to retrieve what he had already paid for. And later in 2017, Gary Dixon made a huge blunder. Without informing Richmond, he sold the 1934 Pierce-Arrow Coupe. This cleared any doubts about the situation. This was theft. Gary Dixon handed over the car to Goen Motors, Inc., a company specializing in vintage cars. He provided a certificate of ownership, which he'd fraudulently obtained in his own name, according to court records. At this point, the Pierce-Arrow had officially slipped out of Richmond's hands, and soon it would land in the hands of Wayne Carini. Wayne was approached by Goen Motors, Inc. to do an official appraisal of the car. After thoroughly inspecting it, he estimated its worth at $100,000 to $120,000. To him, it was just another car that just needed the right buyer, and he made a decision that had surely come back to haunt him. Wayne purchased the car himself for $110,000, believing it was a completely legitimate deal. The paperwork was clean, the ownership documents official, and the transaction seemed above board. But Wayne had unknowingly bought a car that was never meant to be sold and sealed his own fate. Shortly after, RM Auctions, Inc. approached Wayne, expressing interest in acquiring the car. Wayne, however, wasn't eager to let it go. He knew that rare classics like this only increased in value over time. In an attempt to scare off the auction house, he set an unusually high asking price, $250,000. But to his shock, RM Auctions immediately agreed. The sale went through. Wayne made a massive profit, and RM Auctions eventually flipped the car to a private buyer for $275,000. By now, the Pierce-Arrow had passed through multiple owners, its price skyrocketing with every sale. But there was just one problem. The real owner, Robert Richmond, still didn't have his car. Richmond had spent years tracking his missing vehicle, and when he learned that RM Auctions had sold it to a new owner, he immediately took action, reaching out to everyone involved in the sale. Shockingly, the final buyer, who had purchased the car from RM Auctions, agreed to return it to the auction house. It seemed like Richmond might finally get his car back, but there was one last roadblock. The Pierce-Arrow Coupe was still at F40 Motorsports, Wayne Carini's business. And despite all the legal negotiations, Richmond wasn't able to retrieve it. Realizing he had no other choice, he filed a lawsuit in 2018 suing Wayne Carini, F40 Motorsports, Carini Car Care, Goin Motors Inc. The case dragged on for 2 years, and finally in June 2020, the final court ruling arrived.
Hey, so it's Wayne Carini. I'm here with my 1934 MG Airline Coupe. It's a 2023 Amelia. Wonderful crowd here. There's got to be about 30,000 people walking around enjoying cars and each other's company. So wish you were here, and everybody just loves the Lalique.
Are you ready to hear the shocking decision of the court? The court sided with Richmond, confirming that he was the rightful owner of the 1934 Pierce-Arrow Coupe. Gary Dixon was found guilty of embezzlement, having fraudulently sold a car that wasn't his to sell. However, Wayne Carini was cleared of any criminal wrongdoing. The court ruled that Wayne, RM Auctions, and the other sellers had acted in good faith, unaware of the fraudulent origins of the car. But there was still a price to pay. The final buyer had spent thousands restoring the car. And because the sale had to be reversed, Wayne and the other parties involved were ordered to issue full refunds, covering not only the purchase price, but also all restoration costs. The entire ordeal had lasted a decade, and while Wayne Carini walked away legally clean, the damage to his reputation had already been done. For many, Wayne Carini is one who introduced millions to the world of classic car restoration. However, his business practices have cast a long shadow over his public image. Many fans have criticized Carini for being just a shrewd businessman and not what he seems on TV screens. Chasing classic cars might have showcased his interest in rare and valuable automobiles, but some viewers felt that Carini's passion for the cars has taken a back seat to his desire to make money. Many people who saw the show were unaware of the business side of things, but those familiar with the industry felt that Carini chose sellers who didn't fully understand the value of their cars. After making the purchase from vulnerable sellers, such as widows or families, promising to find their cars a good home, Carini would turn around and resell them for far more than he paid. Everyone has the right to earn money, but the inconsistency between his public persona and his actions left many disillusioned with the man they had once admired. Roger Barr's down-to-earth attitude and vast knowledge of vintage vehicles made him a beloved figure on the show. But when Barr's screen time finally ended, people felt that the way Carini treated him was less than kind. Barr was considered by many to be the true star of the show, but Carini's actions suggested that he didn't appreciate it at all. A former seller had a run-in with him over the sale of a classic Mercedes and narrated his experience. The seller had initially priced the car at $60,000, but Carini offered just $45,000, claiming the model wasn't popular despite it being in pristine condition. Reluctantly, the seller agreed to the lower price, only to see the car show up for sale shortly afterward for $120,000. This has left a sour taste in the mouths of many. Carini's company, F40 Motorsports, was also accused of engaging in illegal activities related to vehicle identification numbers. In particular, there were claims that Carini's shop removed VIN numbers from cars during restoration, which is a practice that is both illegal and unethical. Is this a sign that Carini is willing to bend the rules to secure a sale or increase the value of a car? Despite the accusations and controversies that have plagued Carini's reputation, there are still many who view him as a talented car restorer and businessman. Chasing classic cars is a source of entertainment and education for many. For his supporters, Carini is simply a man who knows how to make a deal and turn a profit, something that's to be expected in a cutthroat industry like car restoration. But for many others, Wayne Carini's reputation as a businessman and car collector may never recover. In the classic car industry, credibility is everything. And even though he wasn't directly at fault, the lawsuit left a permanent stain on his legacy. But shockingly, this wasn't the first lawsuit tied to Wayne Carini. In 2011, another client sued F40 Motorsports over a missing luxury luggage package on a Lamborghini Gallardo, leading to another legal battle. Is it a coincidence, or should it be considered a pattern at this point? Wayne Carini may be a legend in the car world, but in an industry where trust is everything, even one misstep can follow you forever. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below.